know me, I'm working with NC3T, and I am in Pennsylvania. I think I'm the only NC3T person to be. And today we are continuing our PA PIN roundtable discussion, just an informal way for us to get together and chat. Right now, everyone is on mute, I think, or if you could just mute yourself, that would be helpful, except for when you need to speak or wish to speak. There is a chat box for you to add your questions as we go along. I just want to let you know that on the call today besides me, Kathy, is Candice Schick, and Candice is doing some behind the scenes work, and she'll join in if anybody has any technical problems. And just as a shout out, Candice is originally from Pennsylvania, so we welcome her. If she feels right, it's because she is. So you're invited to this call and on this call because you are a member of the Pennsylvania Pathways Innovation Network. And as a reminder, until the budget crisis is resolved and funding is dispersed, we were working a little bit on a shoestring budget, so not doing as much as we had planned at this point in the year. But we are pulling people together, you included, and trying to do some networking, sharing of resources, and offering some support. And we're hoping that will only grow as the rest of the year plays out. So again, welcome to everyone. I do want to just mention that part of our work this year, we had intended to do 3 to 6 regional workshops throughout Pennsylvania in the fall. And again, due to the budget crisis, that was put on hold, so those workshops will now be in the spring. I think this is a great opportunity for you to bring a team. It is a no-cost workshop for PA PIN members, excuse me, and they are full-day workshops from about 8:30 until 2:30. Hans Meter will be facilitating these workshops, and he's calling them The Power and Promise of Pathways, which is also the title of the book that he's about to have published. So those workshops will be, I think, equally informative for those of you who are immersed in pathways and are gaining comfortability with them and implementing them, as well as for those of you who really are a little bit more on shaky ground, don't really know exactly what direction you're going in, but want information. So we'll get those dates out to you as soon as we have them. What we're looking for now are host sites. So if your school would be willing to host, what we would require from you is a meeting place for up to 50 people, and NC3T will provide food, handouts, and so forth. So we're really looking for meeting locations. You can email me at Cathy. I'm Cathy@nc3t.com if you'd like to let us know that you're interested. Okay, so I'm very excited today because I recently had the opportunity to meet by phone a couple of wonderful women doing some great things, and they are from the Consortium for Public Education, and I'm going to ask MaryKay Babyak to introduce her team, and she will give you the background information. If I do it, I won't do it nearly as well as her. So here we go, MaryKay. I'm going to change presenter, so I'm giving you control of the screen, and you should see a pop-up in just a second asking if you want to take control.
It's saying show my screen?
Yep, go ahead and click on that. And while you do that, I just want to remind the members, our end time today is 1:45, and MaryKay has a lot to share. There is a chance that she might, our conversation might go beyond that. We completely understand if you need to jump off at 1:45. We have decided to record this session, and if you have questions for MaryKay, please just put them in the chat box as we go along. Don't hold them until the end. And MaryKay has given me permission to interrupt her with questions.
So, Kathy, on our side, we're not seeing anything. Are you all seeing the screen that we're showing?
I'm not. Candice, are you? I'm still seeing my slideshow, my slide.
Yes, I can see the career ready graduate is up.
Okay, is that the prepared graduate?
Yes, now it's the prepared graduate.
Oh, now I see it. Thank you. It was behind mine. Sorry about that. Well, welcome, MaryKay and the Consortium for Public Education.
So I'm going to just quickly turn this over to our current Executive Director, Linda Croushore, and she's going to do the first couple of slides. We have 4 members of our team here. Linda's going to introduce us, and we're going to each sort of jump in on a couple of the slides. And of course, we welcome anybody else on the call to jump in at any time to ask us questions. We'd love to share what we have. Okay, Linda.
So good afternoon, everybody. It's nice to be with you today. And in the room with me are MaryKay, whom you've already heard, Gina Barrett, and Jackie Foor. So there are 4 ladies in the room. We were laughing because we just went to a presentation that a team at Carnegie Mellon University did the other night on some work we had them do, and they called us the ladies from the consortium, and we were laughing. So when you said it, it just was twice in one week. It was funny. But we look forward to meeting all of you in person, perhaps at one of the workshops, and please don't hesitate to interrupt any of us in our comments for you. But we were organized in 1985 by the Allegheny Conference on Community Development, which was a workforce group of all the major companies that used to have their corporate headquarters here in Pittsburgh. And the interest was that because of the demise of steel making, which this region was truly held up by, we needed to think about how to help people continue to have hope and a belief in the future of the region. And that was really what began the consortium. So we've been around since then. We're actually starting our 32nd year as of last October, and we're working with over 40 school districts and their communities that stretch over 7 counties here in western PA. Our headquarters are in McKeesport, and always we've looked at the fact that every child deserves a great opportunity to learn. And to us that means that they have to believe they're part of the future, that they have the right to dream, and they have the right to make plans, and that they have the right to be high achievers. So it is not really about the curriculum of the academics as much for us as it is the fact that if you believe in an opportunity to learn, then you have to design schooling that gives every child whatever tools they need to do that. And that's been something that's been a very important thing to us. So we're trying to change the slide, and we're trying to figure out, you probably have to bring that up there, MaryKay, perhaps. There we go. So in thinking about all of that, we talked about the fact that for every kid, they need their own viable plan. And it can't just be a whisper, it has to be formal. Excuse me. So we know that many of the IUs and other groups are working on academic knowledge and trying to create plans for kids to acquire basic skills, acquire skills in math and literacy, etc. And we looked more at all the skills that surround those academic skills that are absolute essentials to the future for kids, and how do we design and create experiences and opportunities for them to have a chance to achieve that plan. Because of that, many initiatives grew up in our work, and they've been most interesting. Some are newer than others, and one of the things we've learned is that we have to keep pace with the changing times, and as times change and needs change, so do our initiatives, not so much coming and going as in continuous improvement of them, etc. So there are 6 before you on this slide. We are going to spend a little time on each of them for you, and again, please ask questions. But the Future is Mine is really a career inquisitive program and also a leadership program. We have the Career in College Knowledge, which we'll talk about, a very interesting global passport project I think you might be curious about, the Forum for Collaborative Leadership and Creativity, and MAPS, my Action Plan for Success, and also producing career-ready graduates. So those are the things right now that we thought might make sense for this particular audience, you, and we're going to say a few words about them, and then you ask us for details if you'd like to have them. So it's wonderful to have you, and I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Gina Barrett, and she's going to tell you a little bit about this initiative, which I think you'll find exciting. We do. Gina?
Hi everybody. Like Linda said, I'm Gina. The Future is Mine is our career exploration, as you can see, leadership development, civic engagement program. It's in close to about 30 high schools now, and there are students involved in grades 9 through 12. The teams range in different sizes depending on school to school. So we have some teams that are maybe about a dozen students and some teams that are close to 100 students. During the year, the students do peer-to-peer projects, peer-to-younger peer projects, and also individual projects. And there is an adult advisor at each school that is kind of my contact person that I email back with and back and forth with, usually weekly. But it's very student-driven. It has a lot of student voice. It's the team members, the high school team members, who come up with what the projects will be. There's a lot more buy-in, a lot more enthusiasm and follow-through when it's the students who's actually coming up with what they want to see. The team of students a lot of times becomes the go-to group in the school. They disseminate a lot of information that they get about opportunities that they may not have heard of. A lot of the teams have taken over as a project their school's career fair, and so they do a lot of the organizing in that. They work with their administrators to make sure that the communication lines are open and everyone knows what's going on. Every year, the students come have a culminating event, which is the Student Leadership Conference, and that's every April. This year, coming 2016, we'll have the conference again. It'll be our 16th annual conference. There's site visits, there's breakout sessions that outside organizations do, but also we usually have about a dozen teams who volunteer to do breakout sessions for their peers. During their visit, they also stay overnight in Pittsburgh. Many of the students have never even been to Pittsburgh and to downtown Pittsburgh before, and they get a chance to not only come and see the city and talk to different people who are mentors or possible internship places, they get to hear career paths from people and how they got to where they are. So this gives them a lot of information and some opportunities that they hadn't had before. There are usually on any given year about 600 students who are directly on teams over the high schools, but the way we have it set up with the peer-to-peer and the peer-to-younger peer project, we make sure that the all the information that they're giving touches a lot more students than just who is on the team. So that way, with the students going into either the middle school or the elementary schools, that gives a lot more information to everybody and doesn't just keep it on the team.
How many kids come to the conference?
For the conference every year, there is about 400 total attendees, that being about 340 students and about 60 adult chaperones who come with them, who are the advisors for the Future is Mine. So we have a very nice group every year.
And Gina if anybody at the end will give you our contact information on any of these projects, feel free to talk to us. But Gina can also share with you more detail later on about the kinds of support materials and things that she does with the teams.
As you know, the Pennsylvania has such diverse schools. Some are extremely poor, some are extremely not poor, and as well some are rural, suburban, and urban. And these 30 high schools are a mix of those. And the kids often have really no understanding of what another community is like, because many of them grow up in their own and don't leave it very often. So it's pretty wonderful to see them getting to know kids from other backgrounds, other places. And at the beginning of the conference, they're usually pretty nervous about meeting new kids, and by the end they're in tears that they have to leave each other. So it's a very special time.
Yeah, during the conference, they also culminate together at a cultural place in Pittsburgh. Last year it was Soldiers and Sailors Memorial Hall, and it will be in 2016. We've been to the Heinz History Center, the Carnegie Museum of Art, August Wilson Center. So it's usually places that probably the bulk of the students haven't been to before.
Okay, this is Jackie. I'm going to talk to you about career and college knowledge, but before I go on, I just wanted to take a quick break and find out if anybody had questions that they wanted to ask Gina about TFIM before we go on to college knowledge.
And I actually have a question. This is Cathy. I might have missed this. I've been taking coughing breaks, but how many students can each district send, and how are those students chosen, or how do they sign up for that?
Before we had so many teams, it used to be very easy. We told everybody that they had 15 spots. But every year it seems like TFIM grows and we get additional schools. So right now it's usually about a dozen students that are able to come, and the teams that have a lot more students on them, they usually get a couple more spots, and the teams that may be a little smaller don't actually take a dozen, because it's the best time that we can have the conference, but it is also in competition with band and with tournaments for sports. So a lot of times students who think that they could go in the end are not allowed to go. So
Right.
But if you wanted an average number, it's about a dozen from each team. If the team is about that size anyway, it's the team who's brought, but also when there are a lot more students on the team than they actually have spots for the conference, they usually take some of the outstanding members who make it to every meeting, who are very vocal, who really take a lead. Sometimes if they have a lot more students, even who are leaders, they do lottery systems, but each team does get a decent number, and there isn't a cost to them to come and to stay overnight either.
Great. Oh, that's great. As a reminder, we have muted everyone to eliminate background noise, but if you drop down and there's a chat box on your GoToMeeting panel, it says chat, and if you drop down, there's a place there for you to type your questions, and Candice and I will be monitoring those. All right, thank you.
Okay, this is Jackie. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our next two programs, the first of which is College and Career Knowledge. College and Career Knowledge is a program to help kids learn about the different post-secondary opportunities that are available to them, but in a way that's not really traditional. It's not your traditional college tour, for example. This work began several years ago out of a Project 720 grant that we had, and a partnership that we have, a continuing partnership that we have with California University. What we have done is we are targeting students who should be thinking about college but aren't necessarily thinking about it in a very serious way. And we work with our partner school districts, and we ask them to invite those kids to the campus for a day to come and learn about college. When the kids arrive on the campus, we purposefully split them up into small groups so that they're in with kids that are from other schools so that they can meet them. But also in their small groups, we bring in college students. And we also try and have graduate student facilitators at each table. And at each table, we have table discussions about what is your typical college day like. We ask the college student to talk a little bit about what their day is like, what their major is, how they manage their time, whether they work, whether they live on campus or commute, obstacles that they may have overcome when they first came to school, and things that they wish they had known when they were in high school, so maybe they might have done things a little bit differently. The reason why we do these small group discussions is we found that panel discussions and large group settings really weren't very helpful to the kids. They were afraid to ask questions, afraid maybe their questions were kind of silly. So putting them in smaller groups makes them a lot more comfortable and willing to ask those questions like, you know, how do you get your laundry done, and how do you get along with a roommate, and will your professor really answer questions for you if you need help, those kinds of things. In addition to having the kids talk to current college students, we also then, after a period of time, we introduce college professors into the mix and support staff as well, so that the kids can learn directly from the professors what their classes are like, what their expectations are, and what you have to do to be successful in their class. And we bring in the support staff because most of these kids have no idea all of the different opportunities there are on campus for them to get help if they run into trouble, whether that means tutoring, financial aid, counseling, other types of activities they can become involved in, etc. So these conversations have been really, really helpful to the kids, but not only the kids, we also have these conversations with the teachers, because we find that a lot of the classroom teachers and school counselors it might have been a while since they themselves were on a college campus, and if you're one of those types of people who's been away for a while and then goes back, you realize things have changed a lot, and there are an awful lot more services available to kids. There are also some pretty high expectations for what kids should know and be able to do, and it's good to have those kinds of conversations as well. So and then we wrap up the day after the conversations. We take the kids on a college tour so they get to see the campus, and we also take them to lunch in the dining hall so they get to have that real-life experience.
As Jackie said, we started at Cal U. We now have a network of 10 to 12 colleges and universities in Western PA. And because we're so interested in networking and really building relationships across institutions, we invite the colleges to all come to one campus and be part of a hosting situation there. For instance, there might be 4 post-secondary institutions helping Cal U do something on their campus. When we go to Robert Morris, there might be 4 that go there. So it's interesting for them to hook together as well and to have as their goal not come to my school as much as think about post-secondary education. And it's very interesting that way.
In addition to the growth that we've seen in this program from going from just our partnership with Cal U to now 10 other colleges and universities regionally that participate, we've also, this also has been a great benefit to some of the colleges and universities that have participated. One example is Cal U, because of what they have learned from meeting with the high school students, started to identify gaps that they needed to address for their incoming freshmen to help them be retained at the school. So what they have done is, from what they've learned, is they created a seminar course for incoming freshmen that is around various topics that, you know, things like time management, study skills, and even things like drug and alcohol abuse, to try and help kids overcome those things so that they might be able to make it to sophomore, junior, and senior year. And they, excuse me, they've also done a research on this and have found definitively that this led to significant increases in their freshman students' grades and in retention. So this type of program not only benefits the high school kids, it's also benefiting the college kids as well. Since I don't see any, I'm sorry, the other thing that we see, we know that a lot of kids, college is not the answer or what they want to do. So last year we decided to expand our college knowledge to include career, and we've started partnering with some of our local trade unions. And we've been taking kids on site to meet with current apprentices and learn what apprenticeship programs are. We found, as I'm sure many of you have found, a lot of kids have no idea that this is even an option available to them, that it's free training, that they earn while they learn, and that the jobs that are available are really great middle-class jobs that offer benefits and wages that they would not find if they just went straight into the workforce without any training. We've taken kids to a couple of these to 5 different trade unions so far this year. When we take them on site, they meet with we actually ask the unions to bring in some of their younger apprentices so these kids can see that there are people not much older than them that do this, so that they can talk to them about what their experience has been like. And we also encourage the trade unions to take them out into their shop and give them a chance to do some hands-on activities so that they get a chance to see what it's like. We really had a lot of fun this year when we took the kids to the operating engineers, for example, and the kids actually got to go into some of the diggers and the cranes and operate them for real, so they could really see themselves doing that as a career someday. So we're going to follow those kids along for the next couple of years, and hopefully we'll see that they're actually putting in applications with the local trade, with the local apprenticeship programs, and we'll see if it's making a difference in their enrollment. We also know that this is, for our region, going to be a really important thing because of, there's the possibility, and we should hopefully find out later this month, about a big ethane cracker plant going in here, and if that's the case, the need for construction workers from all different fields is going to be tremendous, and we don't have nearly enough people in the pipeline right now. So we're expanding it to do that as well. All right.
Jackie, this is Kathy again. I'm sorry, I'm the chatty one.
No,
Both of these programs, I'm just nodding my head through your conversation. I have 2 kids myself in college, and having just done the college visits the past few years, I really like what you're doing, that the kids have more authentic time to talk to college kids about what a day in the life is like. I think that's what both of my kids had most trepidation about. What's the everyday life like? And as far as the apprenticeship, that's amazing. What a great, I mean, you know, my kids had no idea if there were apprenticeships available in our region. So as you move forward in your presentation, I'd just like to ask everyone to type into the chat box if you have a similar organization in your community similar to the Consortium for Public Education, because I'm just thinking this is phenomenal that each individual school doesn't have to plan all these things, that you're offering these to all the schools in your area. So as we move forward, just let me know if other parts of the state, if there's anything to our participants, anything you participate in similar to this.
Kathy, it's MaryKay. If I might just throw into, we understand that we're working from an organization that brings schools together, but we also know that districts sometimes team up in groups of 3, 4, 5 if there's not an organization like the Consortium, and there's certainly a possibility that we might be able to provide some support or resources to helping folks just to get the ideas together and to get started if there's not a similar organization near them.
That's wonderful. I want to make sure that we have quite a few IU members in PA-PIN, and I know that not all are on the call, and I'll definitely make sure that everyone has this recording. I don't know why I'm thinking IU, but we'll make sure that everyone gets this recording. Thanks.
okay. The next initiative we have that I'm going to talk about is a relatively new one for us, although it has old roots here, called Global Passport Project. And Global Passport Project is an opportunity for kids to become involved in an activity where they go into the workplace, study a problem, and then as a team work together to propose a solution to that real-world problem. When I say this has roots along with the consortium, it's the first example of a global passport type project happened here many years ago with a partnership between one of our schools, McKeesport High School, and Kennametal. The students were invited to come to Kennametal, which is a manufacturing company here in southwestern Pennsylvania, to come in and meet with staff, and the staff shared some various problems they were having and asked the kids to propose solutions. And the one that the kids decided to tackle was that this company does a lot of tool and die work, and the dies that they use are incredibly expensive. And people would come and take these tools, and they would go out and work into the shop, and then these things wouldn't necessarily make it back into the storage area. They would get lost in transit. So what would happen is that the company would end up losing thousands and thousands of dollars every year having to replace these parts. What the kids decided to do or to propose was to build a cabinet and put barcodes, and you have to understand this was when barcodes were still a relatively new thing, on these pieces of equipment. So the staff members who needed to use them would come in, scan these pieces of equipment, go use them, and then come back and have to scan them back in. It sounds like an incredibly simple solution, but it was one that just, you know, I guess the folks at Kennametal couldn't see the forest for the trees, but the kids coming in from the outside could see very easily, hey, this is a way for you to fix your problem.
Absolutely.
And it was such a great opportunity, or such a great solution for Kennametal, that they flew in their CEO from England to come over and meet with the kids. The kids were going to save this particular plant tens of thousands of dollars every year, and because it was such a simple solution and saved so much money, they expanded this to globally to their other plants around the world. So it went on to save the company thousands and thousands of dollars every year. Since then, this Global Passport Project has been expanded to include other high schools and other businesses. And the kid that generally participates in this program isn't your high flyer kid. These are ones that are kind of your middle of the road student who's not really sure what they want to do, and it's based within a class, so it's also a teacher becoming involved and committing to project-based learning. Giving the kids, which means giving the kids the opportunity to take control of their learning. The kids research the problem, they have the communication back and forth with the folks at the businesses, they do the research, they test out lots of solutions, and at the end they create the presentation where they go back to the business and present their solutions to that business. The teacher is only there as a facilitator. It's all very much student-directed, student-led. And the solutions that these kids come up with are amazing, and almost every single time end up either making money for the companies that they propose or saving those companies money. Another company that's been involved with it is Allclad. You might use their pots and pans in your kitchen at home. One of the problems Allclad had was that they have to file down the actual pots while they're making them, and they use an oil solution to do that. And the oil solution became very heavy with all these shards of the metal that came off, and they have to recycle, and they didn't know what to do. So the kids proposed creating a centrifuge that would spin this oil solution down, separating the metal from the oil so that they could do the recycling much more easily. Once again, saving the company lots and lots of money. Other companies that have been involved are Alcosan, which is a local water treatment company here, and this year Range Resources is coming on for the first time, and the Energy Innovation Center is also a new project, and we're always adding on new schools and new companies to do different types of projects. But the Global Passport project is one that really involves kids and helps kids maybe not necessarily find the career they want, but realize that they are fully capable of being successful in the business world. So I'm going to pass it back to, unless other people have questions or comments, I'm going to pass it back to MaryKay.
Okay, so we just have a couple more things we're going to share with you, hoping to save maybe 5 minutes or so, 10 minutes at the end for conversation. But the next initiative we're going to talk to you about is what we call our Forum for Collaborative Leadership and Innovation. The intention really is a professional learning community, and we bring 18 teams from around the region. We have districts from urban, suburban, rural. We have 4 high school city schools from Pittsburgh City Schools. And essentially what these folks do is come together with the intention of building up their own leadership team and finding a problem, a challenge, an opportunity in their district where they can work together as a team to resolve it. And then also to work as part of this regional network, collaborative network across the Pittsburgh area. So throughout that, they learn, they grow together, they host each other on site, they share ideas with each other, they share challenges with each other. We do a number of processes to try to extend the thinking of the participants, and we have about 150 teachers, school counselors, administrators, principals, but we also have the kids who join their teams once a year, sometimes twice a year, so that the kids are actually fully embedded in some of these teams. One of the things we most recently did was something that was similar to a mini ed camp. If you're familiar, the ed camp is the unconference model where the participants decide what their focus is going to be. So in our last meeting a few weeks ago, what we did was to have participants identify something that was truly a passion of theirs, something they wanted to not only learn more about, but to talk more about with colleagues in the room that would have interest. So from the 150 people, we came up with about 15 topics of people of really passionate interest for folks. We had about 45 minutes, and the people grouped around the area of interest that they had and had phenomenal conversations. The feedback from that was so powerful because the teachers felt, one, they could get help in an area where they needed it, or 2, an area that they had great interest in that they wanted to extend their thinking, or 3, just learn about something new completely. In fact, many of our folks said they were taking this back and changing some of their in-service so that the way that the district folks learn is through those needs that are really there. We also do research and bring research into the group. We also host a leadership retreat at the end of every year where folks come, bring a number of other additional members to the team, and do, again, a lot of sharing about what their team is working on, how they've overcome struggles, how they've developed buy-in, etc. Through the forum, we have created some additional kinds of work. So things grow out of the forum, and we see direct need that rises from what the teams are looking at. One of those became our next area, which is what we call MAPS, My Action Plan for Success. And essentially that goes back to what Linda talked about in the very beginning. If kids are going to have a formal and viable plan for their post-secondary life, what are the things that kids need to do in order to actually create that action plan? And so in addition to digital tool, we have created some support materials that basically help kids to think about where they're going, why they're going, and how they get there. So in, for example, our section about self-exploration, kids begin to look at who are we? You know, what's our interest inventory? What are our leadership skills inventory? What's my learning style? What's my personality type? How do I connect my interest and my skills? From that, we ask kids to really think about goal setting, and we really like to focus kids in on SMART goals. We think that it's important for kids to think about being specific and measurable and action-oriented and time-bound and the resources that they'll need. And from that, we have kids actually creating action plans. The final plan for us is what happens when kids leave high school, but throughout their, essentially many times starting in middle school, but certainly starting by 9th grade, we ask kids to begin to work towards that plan. So some components of that plan include things like, what does success actually look like to me? So success isn't just going to four-year college or getting a great paying job. It's things like, you know, what makes me happy? Do I want to work inside or outside? Do I want to work by myself, more like in an accounting kind of role, or do I want to work in a large group setting? We also ask kids to start to think about, how did I become interested and what are the pathways that I have to take in order to get there? We have to think about things like, how can I describe this career? Do I even really know what it means? So we ask kids to start to think about very clearly identifying the specific components of what that career takes. We also ask them to think about availability of the jobs and the employment facts. Are there jobs in this area? Would you have to move? What's the kind of salary that would be involved? What's the training that I need? Do I go in, for example, like what Jackie was talking about in the apprenticeship program, do I need a 4-year program, or will my interests actually take me all the way through graduate school? And if so, how am I going to pay for it? And then we ask kids to get reflective before they start to really come up with that first step of their final plan and say, the job of me, why is it a good fit? Can a student, before they graduate, really defend their statement of this is the right job for me? Because we find so many times, and we know certainly from the research, that kids change majors, change jobs so many times afterwards because they haven't really been introspective about, is this the right job, as opposed to it sounded good, or my brother did it, or my uncle does it next door. So we really try to have kids to zero in on that kind of thing. And then we do take them through the exploratory activities, the apprenticeship, how do I take a look at videos, resources, the future for me, what would I look like 5 years from now? Actually helping kids, again, to really think about what their future looks like. So again, that's the My Action Plan for Success, and again, we've actually created resource materials to support schools and kids as they move through that.
I'm going to interrupt with just two questions, MaryKay. I think you just answered my question at the end, where I wanted to know, how do you put this into curriculum that you share with school districts, or do teachers come for training or counselors come for training on this? And then as a more broad question, Leon is asking who funds the consortium, and do school districts pay any dues to participate?
Okay, I will do two of those. The first one is that, yes, we are working with schools in how they might incorporate this into their curriculum, into sometimes their after-school work. Some of it might find its way into the Future is Mine program or into our Career and College Knowledge. So yes, there are ways that it is incorporated in different places. We do encourage people to take a look at it and think, what's already in place in my school? How does this fit in, or how does it support it? How else might it work within what we're already doing? And then in terms of the funding of the consortium, I'm actually going to turn this over to Linda. I will say, yes, schools do pay dues for different programs, but Linda, having the 30 year having created, I'll let her just give a quick here about how we are funded.
And if you really want to know, I hate raising money. But we can't open our doors unless we do that. So our funders are as broad as we can make them, from taking advantage of Pennsylvania's EITC program, to getting foundation money, to getting corporate donations, individual donations, etc., and more. And that's our job. If we want to exist, we have no state payments come due even if the budget is settled. So we still have to open our doors no matter what, and it is a constant job that is worth everything we do for it because we love our work so much. So I would just say that out loud. You know, if it's worth doing, then it's worth the pain of the fundraising to make it happen. I hate to admit that, actually.
Okay. Kathy?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the last piece then, and this really did rise from all the work we've been doing here between the stuff we found out at the forum, Gina's work in The Future is Mine, Jackie's work talking about career and college knowledge and the Global Passport Project. We began to really think about what does a career-ready graduate actually look like. So back in May, the Secretary of Education for Pennsylvania called a group of about 40 or 50 folks from across the state of Pennsylvania to actually come together and talk about what would a career graduate in Pennsylvania look like. So from that, we formed a partnership with the support of PDE with the Mid-Atlantic Comprehensive Center at West Ed. And we began, actually 2 weeks ago, we launched this new initiative. It's a 2 years, at least to start, initiative that engages 9 school districts. And in our first meeting that we held, actually California University of Pennsylvania hosted last week, we had about 15 to 20 business people there representing all kinds of the major sectors of employers in our region. We had 7 or 8 colleges, including community college, represented. And we started out with actually having them look at something that comes out of the Mid-Atlantic Comprehensive Center and the American Institute for Research called the College and Career Readiness and Success Organizer. That has 4 quadrants in it. It has goals and expectations, which essentially looks at lifelong learning skills, pathway knowledge, academic content. It also has outcomes and measures about indicators for readiness, measures of post-secondary readiness, and post-secondary success. What resources and structures are already in place or need to be in place in a school in order for kids to be successful? And then finally, what are the pathways and supports, both academically in terms of experiences kids have, et cetera. So using those 4 quadrant areas, we asked our districts, our business folks, and our colleges to look at 3 questions and discuss 3 questions. And those are the ones that you see there, which are, first we had them talk about what are the things that we feel are the critical knowledge and skills necessary for kids to make successful transition, whether it's to the work world or into post-secondary education. Then we actually had folks start to define, let's think about that. If those are our knowledge and skills bases, then what do we actually define career ready as looking like? And then finally we had the group begin to talk about what are the opportunities and experiences that we need to create for kids so they can actually have those knowledge and those skills in order to move forward. And what you're going to see here are 2 pictures. So on the bottom picture you see our different, we had about 125, actually about 140 people representing all different kinds of groups there. Many of the conversations took place at roundtables, brainstorming. We gathered a lot of data and thinking that'll play into the next round. But you'll see on top, the most exciting part for us is we actually had 16 kids there. High school students, actually 1 8th grader. The students talked a lot about what they need and where they feel they're being successful and what they need to do next. In fact, one of our districts I was just at this morning with 4 of the students who had attended, the kids were so excited that they, and I put in quotes, demanded to see the superintendent who was with the team at the meeting, but actually came in this morning prepared with things that they were requesting to have put in place, particular classes that they think would be valuable for the kids, how to bring in outside people to help the kids gain more knowledge about what the opportunities are, and also to talk about peer-to-peer support. So knowing that a lot of their kids are their freshmen and sophomores particularly are making some really dumb mistakes, how do they actually create some peer-to-peer kind of support so that they can help kids make good decisions and have a lot of knowledge to move forward? So that was really exciting and a wonderful morning, but it's really talking about how kids make and are given such an important role, they can make things happen. The superintendent committed this morning to the next meeting on December 18th, bringing in the principals to the work and to meet monthly with the students to move forward to make sure that these things are happening. One of the counselors has already volunteered to actually put in place one of the classes that the students have suggested. So again, that would not have happened if the students had not been part of the conversation. And as I said a few minutes ago, this is a 2-year initiative that we've just launched. We'll be bringing back in February these folks to begin to move forward even further. In between now and February, each of the districts that attended have a K-12 plan that we put together with the Mid-Atlantic Comprehensive Center that they're examining currently what they're doing from kindergarten through 12th grade in those 4 quadrant areas I mentioned earlier to see where they feel that things are working, not working, where there are gaps, where there are overlaps, etc. So we'll be bringing that back together in February, talking with the businesses and the colleges some more, and actually taking a look at if we say that these are certain skills, for example, kids need to have, how are we defining them? Do we even know what they mean to make sure that we help kids to develop those? So that's really moving into a major launch of work for us in the next couple of years.
Yeah. And, you know, I think
MaryKay, if I can interrupt, I just want to remind everyone that we normally end at 1:45. If you'd like to hang on with us for a few more minutes, we'd love to have you. For those of you who have to go, please type in questions now. But I do have one question from Leon. How much are you willing to share, ladies? That's what we want to know. I know you are, the schools that you work with are paying a fee to be part of the consortium. Are there any documents or information in general that you could share with
I think one of the things that's important is take a look at the website and get a little bit more in-depth knowledge. On the last slide here, our contact information is here. If you want to jot it down, you can just send it to any one of us, and we can, if you don't have time to write them all down, and we can forward to each other. But we are absolutely interested in making sure that all kids in this Commonwealth can be contributors to the economy and to their communities. And so we are good partners, and that's of interest to us. We do have available one-day trainings on things that we would be happy to deliver. We would have to charge some money for those. We can't do them for free because, as you know, we raise our own dollars as well. However, we are outrageous, and we really believe in friend raising on first kids. So not all of our work did not start at once. We have been evolving since day one, and I would encourage any of you to think about that if there are pockets, as MaryKay said earlier, of a few districts that have a particular interest, it's amazing what you can do when you know it's the right thing to do. So we would be happy to be your partner in figuring it out with you.
And I think, Kathy, in addition to that, because we went through so many different things today very quickly, please just, again, feel free to contact us, and we can talk with people one-on-one. Some things I'm sure we can share, and some things would be staff time, or the materials. So I would just ask people to feel free to contact us.
Okay. I know you have a little more to say yet, but I just want to say I'm completely inspired and would love to start a consortium right now in my own area. It's just really inspiring what you're doing.
Thanks, wonderful. And we are actually, that is everything that we're sharing right now, so we're happy to take any more questions or to do follow-up as necessary.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? It's a lot of information to take in. I do hope everyone does check out the website, which is on your screen right now. I know I looked through it and got a lot of information, a lot of incentive, I guess, enthusiasm. And Linda, I don't want to embarrass you, but one thing I did learn last week when we were on the phone, or a couple of weeks ago, is that you, I believe, were the founder or one of the founders of the consortium, and will be passing the baton soon. And I just want to say again, the amount of information and knowledge you have, I'm sure the others will pick up and run with. But wow, when we lose someone in education, I always feel it's a loss. So on behalf of all the Pennsylvania students, thank you for everything you've done.
Well, we've just really been trying to follow the kids. They really know what they need, and if you listen well and then you work with building relationships in their schools and communities, it does fall together. There are challenges, but at the same time, everybody wants what's best, whether they're parents, kids, teachers, or whomever. Right. So we figure it out as a team.
Right, right.
But thank you so much.
As I mentioned, I have kids in college. I am a teacher. My husband's a teacher, and now, as a completely other side to things, I have aging parents who are suddenly more involved in the healthcare system. And I can't tell you how many times I sit in hospitals and think, are today's students ready to take? Are they going to be there for? I mean, there's just so many different aspects of wanting kids to do well for all of us. So.
Yep, there certainly is, Kathy.
I want to thank everyone for joining us. As I said, we will share this recording with the rest of our members, but it's been very motivating, very insightful. I'm proud that there's something like your organization in Pennsylvania. I hope that it is replicated and we see more good work like that being done. Anyone else? This is your last chance. I'm getting some thank yous to our speakers, but I don't think any additional questions. And I wouldn't be surprised, MaryKay and the rest of you, that you might see some people reaching out to you from PA PIN in the next few weeks.
Well, we welcome that. I just want to thank you, Kathy, for arranging us and giving us the opportunity to share some of our work. We're proud of it, and we'd love to hear what other people are doing as well, because we grow from them.
And we certainly don't have all the answers, but we're committed to trying to keep getting better every day like you are. So together we can move a mountain.
You're right. You're right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Take care, everyone. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.